Hey everyone, this is smpratte, and today we're going to take a look at one of the rarest Wizards of the Coast releases in the hobby, the Trainer B deck. I'm going to talk a little bit about both Trainer A and B in this video, but we're going to go over everything in relation to the Trainer B's release, its history, its rarity, the great ability, and also take a look at the actual cards included in the deck. For most Series collectors, the trainer decks are the bane of their existence for one main reason. They are obnoxiously rare. They had a very unique and historical release. They were never intended for retail distribution. In fact, if you look right here on the front, if we zoom in, it says not for resale in all caps lock screaming at you. These were only given to the gym leaders in the Pokemon League. And one of the interesting aspects about the trainer decks is if you turn them over, the exact purpose of their release is detailed on the back. As you can read that first sentence there, trainer decks are designed as tools for the gym leader to use to enhance the experience of the league participants. So this was released right before or right with the base set expansion to help any newcomer get a good understanding of how the Pokemon mechanics work. So not only is it ridiculously rare, it is a cornerstone as far as history is concerned, and a lot of people consider this to be a prototype product, which we'll get into more detail about that later on. So let's look at the actual differences of the cards. I would say Blastoise is going to be the card from this deck. It is a pre-constructed deck. This one is the Misty's deck. That's why they are given to gym leaders. So it would be reminiscent of the video game. Trainer A was Brock. Trainer B is Misty. So this is naturally going to have water Pokemon. And the card that everybody wants from this deck is going to be Blastoise. And let me show you a subtle difference here that is exclusive to the Trainer B release. You probably already caught it. The one on the right is the Trainer B. The one on the left is a standard Blastoise holo from the base set. You'll notice that the Blastoise from the base set has the holographic pattern where the Trainer B does not. Let me get a little closer there. You can see this. So this is the only way you can get the non-holo variant for Blastoise. It is something I didn't even know until I owned a Trainer B deck ages ago that this was actually a variation. Now the number one differential for Trainer Bs, it's very noticeable right away, is going to be the back. I think even if you aren't too versed in the hobby, you might be able to tell this is from the Trainer B deck. It's pretty obvious that there's a difference here on the back. Yeah, I think it's a nice little subtle differential with the red border. They just exchange out the navy one for it. Also, the Trainer A will be the same. It'll just have the letter A instead of B here, but it's also going to have this red border design. Every single card from the Trainer B and A deck will have this design with no exception. So if it is truly a Trainer A or B deck card, it's going to have to include that red border design. So that is the number one differential when you're talking trainer cards. They're going to have that back difference to them. And let's go ahead and take a look at the actual deck and what it looks like so we can look at the great ability as well. So I already sent some cards of PSAs. You can see some returned, some are in a different order. And the Misty deck, interestingly enough, has more rare cards. And when I say rare, I mean in relation to the rarity type. So you're going to get Blastoise, you have Pidgeotto, I think you have Pokemon Trader as well, where Trainer A has less rarity types, if that makes sense. So you can tell right away there's going to be centering issues with the trainer decks. And for a lot of people, they probably want to see me open up one of these on camera. I might do one down the road, but to put in context, the last one of these I sold sealed was $1,400, so it's a pretty pricey opening, and also there's a heavy risk. So if you open it, you can see not all these cards are going to be centered. This one right here is the classic PSA 9 centering. That's that classic off-centering with the thicker border on the right, and you'll see that throughout. And the interesting thing is sometimes within decks, the centering actually changes. You know, if we zoom through here a little bit, you'll see that the centering starts to change. Like this one's a little bit different than the card in the back. So there is going to be a finicky issue with centering where this one actually has a better centering than the first card. So that is going to be something you have to look out for. And also we could just take a look at all the other cards included. Like I said, some of them are still at PSA, so we're not seeing the Pidgeotto here, the Pokemon Trader, a couple others. But you could tell right away this is going to be a playable pre-constructed deck to teach individuals how to play the game. You can see energy removal. Some of these are very staple cards. Switch is still in the meta today. One of the, probably the most juicy aspect, and the most relevant aspect about Trainer B, I saved it for the middle of the video, is I mentioned earlier that these were considered prototype cards. This is considered a prototype product. The consensus on that is that this was the first appearance of Base Unlimited. So you'll notice that, you know, the layout of Trainer B is different than your first edition base. So first edition Shadowless doesn't have the shadow. This has the unlimited shadow border. So therefore, this is the unlimited layout. And for most people, this is considered to be a prototype release in that this was the first appearance of the unlimited base set because it was released late 98, early 99 to help introduce the game, the trading card game. So therefore, that has been the collector consensus for all this time. And is it something we can 100% verify? No, but that has always been the opinion of collectors, is that this was the first appearance of base unlimited. So that is why you will see that name prototype attached to the Trainer A and B decks. And one other thing to talk about is the rarity. I actually wrote down some of the pop report numbers to give you some figures to compare and contrast the actual rarity of the Trainer B and A decks. So this is the first edition base Blastoise, the big baller Blastoise that everyone knows, and we consider this to be the rarest release. This and Shadowless, we know, have the lowest print run compared to something like Unlimited. So if you go the pop report right now for Blastoise first edition base, including every single grade, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10, the total amount graded are 946. That's the entire population as of making this video for the first edition Blastoise. Now if we go the Unlimited, Unlimited has in total, again, from 1 to 10, 2,049 cards in total, which is expected because Unlimited is not as rare as first edition base. Now, if we go to Trainer B, just guess a number in your head right now. Let's see if you're correct. Trainer B has a whopping 15, swinging in at 15. Not 50, not 150, not 1,500, literally 15. So this card is 1 of 15. And that's not even including how many 10s, 9s, 8s, or whatever. That's 1 in 15 total graded. And sure, you could throw in the ifs and buts of, well, maybe a lot of them aren't graded, maybe some of them are mislabeled and things like that. Even if you want to throw in all that in there for variation, it is still obnoxiously rarer. So that should give you a good general understanding of how obnoxiously rare these decks are. There's something that I think fly under the radar a little bit because most people, when they see the deck, they're like, oh, okay, it's a pre-constructed deck. It looks similar to something like this Japanese base deck, or maybe it's like the WOTC decks. Even the Shadowless ones are rare, but this thing is more in line with like a World Championship promo, stamp promo, even I would say like a prize or low tier trophy card. That's really the caliber of collectible you're dealing with. And one other thing to end with is when we're talking about sealed decks, because the nature of these were intended to be open, sealed decks are not going to be that common. And even the sealed decks you have out there, you're going to have a variation in sealed product. You know, I do video games as well. And one of the things with video games is what are the corners like? What's the seal like? And that is going to be very parallel to this situation. You're going to have seals that are much better. Like this one's a very good seal. Sometimes you're going to get this little bit right here because it's meant to be the pull tab. But this is a very, very good seal. Where this one, you have a slight tear just from aging. You know, this is 20 years old now. So you see that right there? I actually sold one similar to this on eBay. You see that tear right there? That's something that's going to be common on some of these sealed decks. So you have to worry about aging. And like I said, most of them are going to be opened. And then if you do want to get the PSA 10 examples, this is going to be your best guarantee, or your only real guarantee, because it's the only source. So there's a lot weighing down and compounding on top of these Trainer A and B decks. There's something that are very rare, and if you are going to chase them in PSA 10 or even PSA 9 or 8 grades, it's really going to be a huge, huge risk. You know, you got to be prepared to spend a lot of money. You got to be prepared to take that risk, and you know that's just the name of the game. There's literally no other way to obtain these cards outside of this release. So that is everything I have for the Trainer B decks. A is very similar. One thing I could close with is that if you go back about 8 to 10 years, the interesting aspect with Trainer B is that today I would say Trainer B is not as scarce as Trainer A. Trainer A is definitely more scarce today. But if we go back about 8 to 10 years, Trainer Bs weren't even on the map. In fact, a lot of collectors didn't even think they existed. They were rumored for a while, and then all of a sudden, I think someone, an ex-WOTC employee or an ex-gym leader, now they've elevated to professor status. They've graduated in their name, but I think an ex-employee had a decent amount of these, put them on eBay, and it really just propelled, you know, the Trainer B market. So it's interesting how it's gone full circle. Now Trainer A is more scarce. So back in the day, Trainer B was more scarce. So we'll see what it ends up being 5 to 7 to 10 years from now, if it'll rotate again. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I have for the history, the rarity, the scarcity, the gradability, desirability of Trainer A and B. It's a cornerstone of the hobby, and I think they fly under the radar. It's one of the most unique, and rare Wizards of the Coast products out there. I think it's a must-have for pretty much any series collector. And personally, I have one you can see that's open, one that's sealed, and I think that's the way to go. So there you go, guys. If you have any questions, let me know your thoughts as usual. And that's pretty much it. Until next time.